Hello friends! In this video we are going to talk about the contemporary transit of the planet Neptune through the sign of Pisces. Transit will last from the year 2011 until the year 2026. Whenever Neptune transits through Pisces, people around the world have a strong desire for the redemption, and the world is going through some sort of a spiritual renaissance. Neptune cycle lasts for about 165 years, which means that the last time was in Pisces in the years 1848 until 1862. So it was a long time ago. And now we are going through some sort of a new process with Neptune in Pisces. In Czech and Serbian language, I offer online seminars on the topic of all archetypes and planets, and I hope I will manage to record them in English as well. Until that time, we can meet on YouTube and talk in this way. Of course, you can feel free to contact me if you need personal consultations on any topic that you are interested in. I record this video now here in Serbian mountain that has the name Stara Planina, which means old mountain in English. And for me, this place is very important, and as I have spent a lot of time here together with my family. I do not know why I record this video about Neptune, which is the planet of water, in this high mountain when I am here so close to the sky. But it happens like that. And it came to my mind when I was recording this that my ancestors were saying that from here you can see four waters. Danube River on the north, Black Sea on the east, which is this direction, Aegean Sea south, which is this direction, and Adriatic Sea, which is on the west, it's this direction. It sounds fantastic, but perhaps it was possible for them. They could have a much better eyesight than us, or maybe could have some other possibility to see, not just with their eyes as we do today. It is impressive that Neptune has appeared in the sign of Pisces in the year 2011, a bit later after Pluto entered the sign of Capricorn, and that happened in 2008. The so-called big economical crisis is tightly connected with the transit of the planet Pluto through the sign of Capricorn. It is worth saying that this is not only some economical crisis, but it is the end of one and the beginning of another world order. The transit of Neptune was accompanied by other transits that made it very complicated, and we cannot mention all of them now. But the situation in the world was becoming more and more clear how Pluto transited through the sign of Capricorn. So what do we see now? We see that we are on a big crossroad as a humanity, and we see that the power of states and the power of those who lead the world is waning, and we also see that the way how we use earthly resources has to change, and it is obvious that Western civilization will not have so strong impact on the world as it had before. Neptune appeared in Pisces in this time to save us indeed in some way, and to symbolize the desire of human to overcome the boundaries of the material world, and also to symbolize man's desire to be healed physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Pardon. It happens always when Neptune is in Pisces, as we said, and it looks like that humans do not want to suffer anymore. So that means also that they suffered a lot until now, and that they are looking for the salvation. One Serbian writer said it's time to build arks. Neptune is coming. That's why, big water is coming. Neptune is the archetype of trance, ecstasy, of the redemption, salvation, higher spiritual life, and of mysticism. It is the archetype of unconsciousness and fantasy, but also, pardon, of deception, mistakes, and chaotic thoughts. It is a planet also, planet of healers, musicians, and mystics. In its better forms, of course. In its worst forms, it symbolizes all of those who are lost in life. Anyhow, so Neptune was Poseidon in ancient mythology. In Slavic old religion, he had many forms, and one was underwater Caesar called Chernomorets, means Black Sea Caesar. And in Indian pantheon, he is one of the three, one of the biggest three, and that's Vishnu himself. Neptunian energy is much respected in Indian spiritual tradition, and this tradition insists on releasing the ego or releasing from the ego. Namely, if one wants to reach higher dimensions of being, then he needs to overcome the boundaries of his own ego. I would like to stress that this is a very mystical concept that does not suit people who live ordinary life, and it does not match very well with majority of European cultures. I have mentioned that also in my video about the sun in astrology. The name of this video is Sun, Your Biggest Life Potential. I have said there that healthy ego is necessary to have if one wants to live a conscious life. Overcoming one's ego, this form that people are using so much today here in Europe and everywhere, is a concept that matches very well with many spiritual traditions, not only with Indian. And it is a very powerful thing, but it is not for everybody. And it cannot be used in every sphere of life. So really people need to be careful in today's time about this concept. Needless to say that this concept is misused by today's so-called gurus, and these gurus actually matches very well with the philosophy of corporations. So it is often this is the tool for manipulation with people, and for those who do not have healthy ego, because those who do not have healthy ego can easily be misused and brainwashed. And that is happening in today's time largely everywhere. So let's say a few words about Pisces. Oops. I'm just moving my table a little bit. So Pisces are the watery sign, and Neptune is the natural healer of this, the natural ruler of this sign. Water that is represented with this sign is not the same as the water of Cancer or Scorpio. With Pisces, we speak about the spiritual water and the collective feelings. So I said collective feelings. Be careful about that. Not collective consciousness, not collective thoughts, but collective feelings. If there is an equivalent to this water, to Neptunian water on the earth, that this is the water of ocean, not of lakes or rivers. It must be huge water that is very hard to comprehend. Under the influence of the Neptune in Pisces, people who are sensitive and meditative will have the access to the spiritual dimensions of being, while others will be disorientated and confused even more than ever before. Each of us will react to this energy in a different way, according to our inner dispositions and according to the position of Neptune in the natal chart, and also according to the transit of Neptune. In this period, as it is today's, our period with Neptune, it's not easy to distinguish the difference between the neurosis and psychosis on one side and mystical and spiritual ecstasies on the other side, as all channels that are leading up are open. In such times, the conscious part of ourself is very confused by the subconscious feelings and experiences. That is how Marcus Jale explains the transit of Neptune in his books. But it was never easy to distinguish the border between the psychosis and religious ecstasy. It was never in any time. So not in our time, of course. For example, famous Russian mystic Vladimir Solovyov was described by Western psychology as a theopath in English, yeah? So yeah, you can always describe it in different ways. Neptune symbolizes our spiritual desire to be one with everything that exists, and mainly to be one with the source of life. It symbolizes our individual and collective spiritual feelings, and it is not necessarily connected with the institutional religion. Often it is not. Nevertheless, while Saturn was in Sagittarius in the years 2015 until 2017 and was making square with Neptune in Pisces, we have experienced the confrontation with the different religions through the question of immigrants in Europe. And I think that was a big lesson for everybody. People from dissimilar religious traditions and with different personal predispositions react differently to the contemporary transit. In the Catholic Protestant world, for example, it is extremely big interest in Eastern spiritual practices, in meditation and yoga. While in Slavic countries and among some Latin Americans, there is a big interest for the old suppressed religions and mythologies. Orthodox Christianity is having also its own renaissance at this time because it was suppressed by political regimes in many countries. However, Orthodox Christianity always had a very different understanding of mystic from the Western Christianity. Orthodox Christians had always people who they called Eurodivi, and those were often people who have some prophetic talents and often were going against the church, but the church accepts them. And they're like something like mystics who have a very special type of life, and from the time to time, they bring unusual messages to people, like prophets. So let's see now shortly which worldly events coincided with Neptune in Pisces. For example, while Neptune was in Pisces, let's start with that, around the first century of after Jesus, the Christianity was spreading around the world. Then in the year 372, Buddhism was spreading in Korea. In the year 538, the Buddhism started spreading in Japan. In the 7th century, just at the beginning of 700, it was the beginning of Islam. And also Neptune was in Pisces. In the year 1520, the reformatic movement started in Western Christian countries. And then finally, in the year 1848, was written the Communist Manifest, and that was the beginning of spiritualism in Europe that led to different forms of psychology and other sciences were born with this movement. So now we are going to go to some special period. We are going through this period, but it's of course different than ever before. I would like also to mention that in the years 2010 and until 2011, which was quite a long period of 8 years, Chiron was also in Pisces, the same as Neptune is in Pisces. So they met there in this sign. And this is the most important constellation of all. Now I'm going to move this a little bit more. Don't be confused because the sun is moving also. Why was this interesting constellation, this combination? It is interesting in regards to healing, especially to spiritual healing. Chiron is the archetype of a wounded healer, and in combination with Neptune, he brought to us this possibility really to learn more about healing in a new way. If you want to learn more about Chiron, there is my new video Chiron in Aries. This is about this new transit of Chiron, but you can see the video if you wish to learn more about this archetype. So the combination of Chiron and Neptune in Pisces sign strengthened and idealized first suffering, but at the same time it increased the desire to cure oneself. Of course, people cure themselves in many ways. As we all know, in our time, many suffer from depression and even from panic attacks. And many are taking antidepressive pills and sedatives. And this is one side of Neptune. And this is really very characteristic for our time. You know, this was never before that people were using pills so much because they have depression or because they're not able to access higher levels of being, and that's why they're taking pills. This is quite special to come down and not to go up. That's very special time. So some people are using pills, and this is bad sign of Neptune. But many people learn how to heal others or how to heal themselves by using alternative medicine or spiritual types of healing, or healing by using the energy, bioenergy, or any other energy. These new methods are mainly holistic, and healers very often use the energy of hands or palms, and this is Chiron. This is the energy of Chiron. Chiron was healing with his hands. This was one his way. And Chiron in Pisces it was teaching us how to do that again, because we forgot maybe some knowledge, or maybe we did not even have that knowledge. So it's very useful time for all of us. I would also like to stress that we have problem to process the energy of super planets. And those planets are Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune. While unprocessed, the energy of those planets always blocks one's life, and it is really necessarily to integrate them in a proper way. So each of these energies leads towards deep inner transformation and frees us from existing prejudice and habits. One's horoscope would say more about that when and how this healing should happen. Neptune brings the feeling of distress, helplessness, and it causes different types of addictions, of medicines, of drugs, as we said, of alcohol, etc., of false gurus, and so on. In our time, there are many addictions, and of course, this to be addicted to a false guru, this is the topic of our time. Neptune affects many spheres of our life, especially fashion, art, and politics, except the spirituality. In this sphere of politics, the most popular will be groups and politicians who will force the idea of salvation to say. Those politicians who understand that the world directs itself towards decay or decadence in certain parts of the world and have the idea to rescue it. Something like that we really need. That doesn't mean in the end that the world will end or something, but we really need to be in somehow to be rescued. Neptune will also manifest through art, and our art will have in this time many spiritual forms. Maybe new forms of spiritual art will emerge also. And if one does not know how to approach these higher spiritual spheres of being that we are mentioning here, I would then suggest to those people to deal with art or to be engaged in art therapy. That could be very useful also. I have for you a few questions to motivate you to check how do you deal with the energy of Neptune. Okay, we are moving again a little bit, trying to catch the sun. So those questions are, how do you react when you perceive that the door of a higher dimensions are opening for you? How do you react? Are you in panic or you accept it freely? That's the first question. The second question, do you have the temptation to fall into any sort of addiction? If yes, when, how, and in which area of your life, let's say? The third question, is there any possibility for you to develop and practice your spiritual or artistic talents? Then the next question would be, are you hiding your weakness and helplessness? And if yes, in which area of life, and what are you going to do with that? And the last question, in which way are you going to manifest your greatest desires? Or how you will manifest your greatest aspirations, we can say. So these questions you can ask for yourself to see, to have an orientation, how do you deal with the Neptunian energy. I will also record other videos about the transit of Neptune, especially one about Neptune for all zodiac signs. I have 3 videos about contemporary transit, for example, of the planet Uranus, of Uranus in Taurus. There are 3 videos about Uranus in Taurus. So feel free to watch them. Maybe you will learn something that you did not know until now. I also have a video about Saturn in Capricorn. This is another big transit. So if you wish, you can have a look at that one also. All links about on videos that I had mentioned in this video are under this video that I'm recording at the moment. In my opinion, there is no better way than astrology for understanding person, life potential, one's life path, than through astrology. So if you wish to see more about you yourself or about Neptune in your natal chart or about the transit of Neptune, or if you are interested to discuss any other question, feel free please to order personal consultations with me. We can also talk we can also, I mean, not just talk, we can use also other methods that I have, that I'm practicing. One is theta healing. This is the sort of a spiritually energetic healing, and I'm very satisfied with this. It works really well. I also have consultations on feng shui, as I used to live in China some period of my life. So yes, please stay with me and follow my YouTube channel and my posts on Facebook. If you like the video, please like it, share it, comment, and thanks in advance for everything. At the end, I would just like to tell you that I'm looking forward to see you soon and that I wish you that your life path leads you towards paradise and not to chaos, as it can be with Neptune. So direct up.